Welcome.
We are live.
We are live. Welcome to another Opposites Attract. Today we are talking about, where's your iPad? Da 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 da. So I am going to. Oh, girl, that the noises you're making. All right. I have a poll up, so don't forget to vote. Are you grumpy or are you sunshine? Let us know. I have a feeling the grumps are going to win on this one, Amber Elise.
You think?
The people in my Discord, I feel like there was a lot of mixed.
I don't know. I don't trust your people. They're always against me. I'm just kidding. I love your people.
Gotta cover that. So, Amber Elise, are you grumpy or are you sunshine?
You may be well, I'm definitely not sunshine. I'm more grumpy and foggy. Yes. Okay. I'm very
clarifications.
Well, there were certain concepts about what happened in the story that I really liked, but there were so many things that were very frustrating. That led to me not being able to fully enjoy this, and it was an experience per usual, Murphy. So
okay. So Slag is one of the people that kind of had a similar experience where she was like, couple of things.
Cloudy skies. All right.
Couple of things that make me not so sure about this. Her and Sandbun.
Okay. Cool.
This is someone that I was doing reading sprints with earlier who got me to start a book very spontaneously that I wasn't going to be reading. Anyway,
okay.
Yeah, I finished Sphere like right before the stream, and that's mostly because I was reading Captain of Blood a little bit.
Oh, okay. So that's where that book comes in. All right, cool.
So, Amber Elise, describe this book in one sentence, or review this book in one sentence.
Okay. It had potential, but it didn't live up to it.
Oh, my heart. So I love this book.
You did?
So much.
I can't believe it.
I loved it so much. And even while everybody in my Discord was like, I'm like, this is the greatest thing. I love everything about it. Not everything. No, not it. There were a couple of stumbling points, but
here's the thing, Murphy, like
go.
So the big climax at the end
Mm-hmm.
was so disappointing because I spent so much time with these characters who I don't really feel had that much of a personality, but there's suspense wrapped within them. So I'm intrigued by the story. Then we get to everything that happens. I like the concept of the imagination being what's driving everything, and they now have this power, but then they want to kill each other, then they don't, and then they come together, and then they decide just to forget it all. And that was very frustrating because I think there's a lot of themes in here that would be fun to talk about. Like, there were a lot of things about choices and morality and the advancement, like what this advancement in science could be. But by the way, the ending was so rushed and choppy, and the decision they made without me fully even knowing these characters, so why I would care why they made this decision, even though I don't agree with the decision, was just all over the place. I feel like there were so many concepts thrown into this story that it was trying to do too much, and then it didn't develop the parts that needed to be developed for me to actually appreciate what happened. So that's where I had a lot of issues.
I think that's valid. I think that there were a lot of concepts introduced, especially a lot of like sciencey things that they were like, here, let me explain this by throwing this ball in a bowl and let's see how this goes about. And like, there were elements that I think were introduced as a concept to consider, and then they would learn more and realize, wait, that's not what's happening here. Now we need to shift, which I didn't mind because they had no idea what was going on. So they're going to be constantly altering their perspective, which means that there are things that are going to be introduced and then dropped. But it was a lot of lofty stuff sometimes, to where it was like, why did I spend time trying to wrap my head around that if it's not going to pay off?
No, am I lagging?
A little bit, not much.
I don't know why it's doing that. Okay. If it keeps doing it, I might have to try to fix it. But yeah, I don't know, Murphy. It was a whole lot of something but nothing. And like I didn't leave it satisfied. I also didn't leave it isn't a bad thing because I don't mind characters that I don't mind unlikable characters. I don't know what I was supposed to feel for these people. I didn't know them. We met them in this crazy situation that like I would never in my life agree to go down 1,000 feet of water with people I don't know who basically kidnapped me. And then trust them, but then make all these big decisions and it has this big impact, but yet I don't know. It was a lot that I don't know why there was a lot. Like I just left it like, okay, that happened.
To be fair, I don't think Norman wanted to be there either. I'm pretty sure he was like,
No, Harry didn't want to be there.
I'm pretty sure it was like, well, I accepted the money for this research so I could buy a house. I don't believe in any of this, but now I've been kidnapped and they sealed the doors, so okay. That was very Norman. I would do it. Like if I were single and I didn't have kids and they were like, hey, we think there's an alien spaceship at the bottom of the ocean. You want to go? I'd be like, yes.
Murphy, you're going to go under 1,000 feet of water with people you don't know who could be crazy, who've already shown you things that don't make you very comfortable, and trust them with your life.
Yeah. Everybody's got to die at some point. You could die on an exploration, an alien exploration in the water.
I mean, I get it. Like that is fair, but like my goal is not to die under 1,000 feet of water for people who are tricking me into going on some exploration that I'm not even fully aware of what I'm going into.
Especially when they realize Barnes is lying to them about absolutely everything. It's like, okay.
Oh, don't get me started on Barnes. That man. And even his thing, it's like the build up to seeing like it seemed like he was trying to do all this sneaky stuff and then he wanted to leave, then he wanted to stay and he's weird and then he dies. I thought there was going to be more to his character because he was so just being the worst at times. And then it's just like, okay, he's gone. And I'm like, okay, all right. He's the only one who I didn't like him, but he actually had something that I thought was going to build onto something. And then nope, he's gone. So I'm like, okay.
No, a load of people died. Like when it started going, it was like left and right. People are getting snuffed out. And it was so fascinating to me. First of all, I really like the buildup. I like the introduction of like, okay, we're here and there's this incredible opportunity. And I personally loved the characters because I felt like they were all so gloriously flawed and insecure in their own ways, and putting them in this contained place and having an extraterrestrial life harassing them and like messing with their minds and opening and like maybe moving around when they're not looking, like that's going to cause them to get so anxious, to be really snippy, for their insecurities to be like a trigger point for them. And like I feel like we saw that, you know, like the worst sides of them became the primary sides of them because of the extreme anxiety they were under. I just thought it was fascinating to read.
So, did you like the characters individually or the situation they were in? And if you did like the characters, what did you like about them
Okay.
individually?
Okay. So I love Beth because she was a zoologist.
Oh,
She's like studying the animals and she's like no, it doesn't make sense. They're impossible animals. I'm discovering these new species, but it doesn't make sense. And so like she's piecing together that something is very wrong here before anybody else,
Mhm.
because of her specialty. And yeah, she's insecure because she's a woman in a male dominated field, and she like flings that at people constantly. But that's what I'm talking about. Like she's in this very high tension situation, so her insecurities become her primary thing. I also really liked Harry because he was such a brat in so many scenes. You know, he's just like, he's smarter than everyone. And he's like, I'm not really trying to deal with you. And I just love him for that.
I do like Harry. He's my favorite. I'm sure you know why.
Oh my goodness. Yes, I think they were my favorite characters. I liked Ted because he was so insufferable. And it's like, it's good to have one character that you hate, you know?
Yeah.
So you like Harry?
I did because I mean, they kind of made his character kind of goofy towards the end, but like initially, he was like, yes, he was like, this is crazy, this is ridiculous. I don't want to. I was like, okay, at least we have something semi-rational in this very irrational situation.
I know.
Because
I'm
I'm like,
sure
okay,
every
I'm not
line
alone.
you were like, yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Yes, like I just I don't know what I really took from the story. And that's okay because some things can be for entertainment purposes. Like, I know there's things that I could take from it. There were clearly a lot of layers to it, but the way it was done was so clumsy that I couldn't appreciate what was given to us. The characters felt one-dimensional. And there were a lot of unknowns, which like this is what I feel weird about with science fiction books in general, especially your books. I get that with I get that with science, there are unknowns. Like that's the point. They're figuring out whatever. But it's like, I already don't know a lot about science. Okay. So when I'm reading a book, the characters don't know. Nobody knows anything. I'm like, well, then what am I doing here? I already knew I didn't know stuff. Now these people don't know anything. And it's like, then when they know, they're like, and we're gonna get rid of it. And I'm just like, okay, okay. Except maybe Beth, it seemed like she may, because she just seems sneaky. It seemed like she may have not gone through with it. I don't blame her because like we did all that and we're gonna be like, let's forget about it. That's what we're gonna do.
And now she has power. Like, I feel like a lot of her character was being snubbed in the scientific and biological world. Like in the STEM world, she's been snubbed and she's like not had opportunities. And that's where a lot of her insecurities and her abrasiveness came from. And so for her to then be able to retain the power, it's like, I don't know, it's kind of an awesome twist.
Which I will say that was my favorite part of the book is that the power. Okay, and let me make sure I'm understanding. The sphere and the whatever they found down there, that was from the future, right? It wasn't an alien thing, right? It was something from the future that we're seeing now.
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay, because if that's the case, what I liked about that was what I took from it, I had to make something work for me in this story, was that they were giving humans the opportunity to see like the power really lies in you people, like y'all have it, like it's it like when he was in the sphere,
Yeah.
when Norman was in the sphere and it was like it's you, he's like what are the answers, and he's like no, it's literally you, like it's you, it's your imagination. I thought that was so cool because I do think there's so much that our minds can do that we don't know about yet.
Yes.
Although they do say we use it's not it's a myth that we only use 10% of our brains, but still, I think there's so much. Yes, like I feel like there's so much we haven't tapped into. So I was like, oh, this is cool. And then they just made it goofy again. And I was like, but I did like that. I liked that idea of the future. We do all this stuff and try to use science to elevate and grow. And then the future's like, oh no, it's literally all you. I thought that was wonderful. And then it just dropped the ball.
But it was all them though. Like they had all the power in the world. Like they could literally manipulate reality. Like things were being created
I
because of them,
know. And then they're like, okay, let's get rid of it.
but they didn't. Like I don't even think Beth was the only one that retained it. It's possible that
That's
Norman
true.
did too.
That's true.
I
Yeah.
think they none of them trusted each other by the end. Like even Beth, when all the chaos was happening, and she's like looking at him like that and
Mhm.
gaslighting him, like this is you, it's you, and like none of them really knew what was real anymore. And
Yeah.
so I think they didn't want to share this information with the wider world, and so they each came up with a plan. The way I'm taking the ending is they each came up with a plan to manipulate each other into, okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna forget, and then they're all playing the game. Beth, I think, certainly retained the power. I think it's possible that the others did too, though. I mean, it's left open for speculation, but I don't think they wanted to actually give it up.
I definitely don't think Norman and Beth did. I bet Harry's like, I just want to get away from y'all. I could care less at this point. I do think it was emphasized that Norman looked at Beth when she had that same smile that it seemed like she had throughout the whole time he was observing her. But Harry could be the real villain and, you know,
I
act
don't
the
think
villain.
Harry would give it up. Like, I think Harry is so sharp that he would see the possibility with this power and he'd be like, no, I'm not surrendering that. Like, I don't
Well,
know.
well, I think that's what's crazy too, because if they did, and maybe like I don't know. I feel weird. Like, say they actually did get rid of the powers. A lot of it, to me, from what I understood, was based on what they witnessed themselves do with it. But I'm like, it's weird, like, because you all would make crazy decisions. Nobody else gets to know and possibly use it for good. It's like, y'all are the maniacs around here. Don't put that on the rest of us. But would most people take advantage of it? I don't think so. I don't think most people would. I think a lot of people would. Like they do
Have you ever
anything
read
in
Death
life.
Note?
Hmm.
Have you ever read Death Note?
Yeah, I watched the anime.
Okay. So that kind of explores that idea of someone who has this like
Yes.
impossible power.
Yes.
They have good intentions, but like absolute power corrupts absolutely, you know?
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think that if we had that kind of power, even the good of us might easily slip into abusing it and being selfish with it.
Yes. Yes. But yes. But then I think the good people would do a lot of good with it. With that kind of power that we can control with our minds, you could you would probably what would probably end up is you just have this big war of like the people who are good and evil. But I do think you'd have a lot of people who would make life better with it. I think to not say anything. But then at the same time, I don't trust any of these people in this book. The Navy, the people with it, like I don't this whole situation was sketchy. So that I don't even think that's why they wouldn't say anything. But I wouldn't say anything because just none of these people seem trustworthy whatsoever.
Yes, I agree. And I
But
thought that was super interesting. Thank you, Simon Dinosaur, for the super chat. What did you both make of Beth's character arc? Do you think her becoming more beautiful every day and trying to seduce Norman a result of her power or his power? Or is it just Cretan being gross?
that is a very good question, Simon. Hmm. I like that question. Now, how would I answer it? His power is crazy because he was complimenting her looks a lot, like inside of his head. Um, Murphy, you're a Beth stan. What do you think?
I think that there certainly was some control that she had of it, and that's why she retained it when she retained the power. But it was also made clear that some of her, or I don't know, maybe this is one of those things that was just speculation and not correct. Um, but her turning more and more radiant while he was turning more and more like schlumpy had to do with her interacting with the spear in a positive way and him in an
Mhm.
antagonistic way, and so they were both being transformed according to how the sphere was accepting them or
Yeah.
appreciating them as well. Which, by the way, what is the conclusion about what was the sphere? Like the it?
That's what I'm saying. I think it was somebody put a good comment though. I'll have to
Okay.
find where it was, but I think that it was something from the future. I just think it was something like
Mhm.
I think it was something that was created and it was to I would like to think help us. Was that the comment?
Oh, no, this one just
Oh,
came.
okay, okay.
I'm not sure which one you were looking at. Sorry.
Because I think somebody said what they thought it was, but yeah, I thought it was just something from the future intended for us to see it. Or it could have been by accident. They could have just been testing something out and it sent there. But I do think it was just meant to help us progress in the sense of we could move a lot faster in life if we knew that we already have the power to move faster. It's a seer. It's
I think for me, by the time we got so like, we're introduced to it, we think that it's alien. We get to it, we see the human door, and we're like, no, it's not alien, it's totally human. And then we get inside of it, we see all the futuristic stuff, and we're like, okay, it's from the future. And then we see the sphere, and we're like, no, that's alien. And then the way it's engaging with us in this like psychological horror kind of way, like manifesting our fears, but then also we can manifest things as well. Like, I'm terrified of squids. I don't want to eat the squid. So shrimp now appear, like that kind of thing. As we were going through the different stages of it, I think I, without realizing it, stopped trying to
Mm.
figure out where it came from. And I was just like, it is otherworldly. Like it is something that we don't know. And so now I'm looking at it and I'm like, did we reach a conclusion of what it was? Because I feel like here at the end, I'm still like, I don't actually know what was behind the sphere. But that's probably on me.
No, we probably didn't because that's typically how your books end. But I will say this: I think that I think that now that confuses me because then what's the point of it being the ship is from the future? Oh, this is this is what I was literally trying to. The ship was from our future, but the sphere was an alien artifact picked up by the ship while going through the wormhole.
Shireen.
Okay, well
Thank you.
that could you think that's what killed him?
Oh, the alien thing is what killed
Yeah.
the futuristic crew. Well, they found those dummies on the ship as
Oh,
well.
yeah. But no, but didn't they end up finding a woman?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're probably right. So it's probably been through a couple of cycles of people.
That's
Um,
kind of see, that bothers me though, because so we have there's just so much happening here that's not explained. So we have a ship 300 years or however many years they said, but a alien artifact. What? What's the connection and why?
well,
What's
they picked it up while going through a wormhole. So if the ship is going back in time, then it's transcending time and space. So while it's making that transition, it's engaging with a lot of unknown. And so as it's doing that, I guess it picked this up alongside of it, and that just appeared inside of the ship and started wreaking havoc. So that actually, okay, so this is really helpful to me because I got the impression that they were saying that the ship was from the future, but the sphere was alien. And I didn't pick up that the ship picked it up while going through a wormhole. So that actually makes those two things make sense together.
Yeah, it makes sense. I just don't like it.
Okay, I'm going off of what James said. I loved oh my goodness, the whole situation when we start interacting with Jerry, and it's like, no, I don't really accept that its name is Jerry. Get another name, like get a fuller name. I'm not writing that down, like that whole thing.
Yeah.
And then it was communicating to us in spirals, and Harry was translating the spirals, which I just thought the way that it did that was so cool. Like that was such a clever communication thing, and the way that they had to transcribe it all. And then it was a mistranslation and it was actually Harry. And then Beth started acting all sus, and then she's gaslighting Norman, and like all of the no, it was you, no, it was you, no, it was you, no, it was you. It was all just so engaging to me. Did you find any of that fun?
Yes, but that's the thing. I was enjoying that. I thought all of that was pretty it felt it I liked it, but it all like I feel like we spent so much time doing a bunch of crazy stuff that by the time we hit the main points, I was like, it'll only really work for me if I find the ending solid. Like
And
in
you
the
did.
back of my head, I was like, this is where we're moving, we're doing all this crazy stuff, everybody's losing their minds, but I'm only going to really like this if I'm satisfied with it has to pay off in the end, and I just didn't think it paid off. But in the moment, yes, especially when um like you said, when Harry was going back to make sure they were translating it right, then he's like, no, when Norman was going back and he's like, that wasn't a J, it's an H. And then, when they injected, or Beth injected Harry with something, and then it seems like Beth and Norman are a team, and then they turn on each other, and Norman's about to leave her. I would have left her so fast. She tried to turn off like he couldn't breathe. I would have been like, I am so sorry, lady, but I do not trust you whatsoever.
I can't believe he went back for her. That actually
He
really
went,
shocked me.
he went back. The only reason I was okay with it because I felt like Harry got done wrong in that situation.
Yeah. First of all, like, how cool is that? I just think that that is so cool.
That is very cool.
But yes, I agree. When he was leaving and she was being left behind and like he was gonna get out of there. First of all, I was thinking about decompression because I was like, how are you able to just leave? We just said day decompression. But putting that aside, I was like, yes, leave, go. Like, not only do you not know what's real anymore, and there's like some psychological terror happening down there, but also Beth has turned on you and tried to kill you. Like, get out. And when he turned back around, I'm like, but why?
And then he comes back and she's like, why did you come back? I'm like, lady, if you don't get it together for 10 seconds, what do you mean? You just cried about why am I leaving? I am back. And now you're like, why'd you do it? Don't come back. And I know they're all breaking down in some way because they're like, but absolutely, I would be like, if you don't, she's like, no. I'm like, yeah, it was very, very frustrating.
Yeah. Yes. They did. They act very irrationally. Also, you know what else I love about Beth? I love that when she got into that baby alien spaceship, she's just like pushing every button.
Oh yeah, Barnes was going crazy. He's like, stop touching that woman. And I'm like, Barnes was diabolical though, because how are you just gonna make the decision to trap us here? I was like, and then they address it and they're like, Barnes did this. And I thought it was gonna turn into something and they just move on. And I'm like, he trapped you under 1,000 feet of water and you know it. And y'all are just like, okay. I mean, I know you can't go.
I mean, what can they do?
I would figure something out. At the very least, check him, address him. But I understand too, you have to stay calm in a situation like that. But he trapped them there against their will. They're all just.
Yeah. Not only that, but he was like, there was a button.
With a button, I pushed it.
It was like from the jump. And I get it to the extent where they're like, I don't really have a choice but to follow this guy, right? Like we're kind of at his mercy. But it's like he gathered them, he called for lockdown, he's not telling them everything, right? And like Harry is seeing through it. And he's like, yeah, he's lying. Like he can clock him right away. Like you know where the door is. You didn't call us here if you don't know where the door is. Why are you not telling us this very basic thing? And then around every corner, he's just not telling them stuff. He's saying stuff and doing something else. And it's just like when he died, honestly, Amber Louise, I was like, good. Like,
oh yeah, I was fine with that. The only thing was I wanted some kind of vengeance. Well, I guess he got his vengeance in a sense, but from them, because I was just like, he caused this. They shouldn't even be down there right now. I don't know. I actually, believe it or not, kind of like Ted.
Okay.
I liked that he was very passionate about whatever they were doing. Like, I really enjoy because he seemed like the only one who tried to understand the assignment. Like, I feel like he was really invested in this, and it helped me try to be invested in whatever this was, because I just thought the whole thing was like, why are y'all even agreeing to this? I would have been like the person who said they were claustrophobic and been right up there the minute. It was, he seemed to really embrace a situation, so I enjoyed his character to an extent.
I choose not to like him because I feel like I'm too much like him and I don't want to be more like him.
You know what?
Like, I hope I'm not the type of person that would just constantly be centering myself and stealing everybody's ideas and trying to be in the front of the camera and the front of the documentation. But beyond that side of things, like the extreme optimism and excitement and just like, no, we can't stop. We have to keep going. Like,
But that's needed. Like, it is needed, especially in that situation. Harry doesn't want to be there. Norman doesn't know what's going on. Beth is doing something
amazing.
dickhead. I don't even think Barnes knows what he wants. He just knows he wants something. So to have somebody who's at least like, well, we're here, you know, let's find something. Let's do it. Not for a way to get more money or whatever Barnes was doing. Not because Norman has some deep rooted issues.
He wanted the notoriety. He wanted it so that he could be something.
But there was a reason, right? Because something didn't happen for him, or was that Beth?
I don't know.
See, they all were so one-dimensional. I could switch them up. But he had a little bit more personality. Him and Harry had a little bit more. Norman, what'd you think of Norman since he was our main character, I guess?
I think Norman wasn't anything to write home about. I'll say this, I really liked getting the story from the perspective of a psychologist. I thought that was a nice twist in that, everybody else is very technically minded and he's more emotionally cognizant and intuitive. So like, for instance, he was the one that when they first started talking to Jerry, he's like, well, it seems emotional. It seems, like he's adding something to it that's not just his very clinical way of thinking. Which I thought was really cool. The fact that he's like very focused on trauma survivors or the trauma of survivors. And so he was thinking about everything from that perspective and constantly psychoanalyzing things. I thought that side of him was really interesting, but as a person,
yeah, you could have swapped him with anybody and been like, okay, that's our main character. The only thing was kind of like you said when he was talking to Jerry, who was Harry, who was Norman. I liked when he was like, relax, Barnes, you're doing too much. Let me talk to him, and was trying to build a relationship with him. I thought that was nice. But other than that, I was kind of like, okay, Norman. And then we get the backstory of his brother dying. And I thought that was I guess that did tie into his.
Oh, no, I was responding to you.
Oh, okay. I guess that did tie into, when I think about it right now, aspects of his imagination and things he may be dealing with. So I guess I'll give credit there, but it was just a lot of, like, I feel like there were things given to us about him, but I was just kind of like, okay.
Yeah, not super interested in him.
Yeah, I think Harry should have been the main character. I would have loved
to be. I do too. That would have been so good.
Yes. I think getting his perspective of things would have been nice.
Mm-hmm. Simon Dinosaur coming in with another really good question. Was this book scary to you? I feel like Crichton tried hard to create tension and a slow build horror vibe.
I think it could have been scarier to me if there just wasn't so much going on. It was suspenseful and it had me stressed during certain moments. I wasn't scared because I just thought so much of it was so unnecessary that I was like, if X wouldn't have done Y, we wouldn't have had Z, but there was a lot of suspense, and good suspense, to give some credit to this story.
I thought that it was, oh man, I loved the tension in this book. Like the constant, I love the feeling of something is bigger than us. We can't explain it. And it's more powerful than us. And we're in trouble. Like, I love that feeling. And that's what this book was. Once we got to the point that the sphere was opening up, Harry was going inside of it and then coming out of it and like being scared and like, we have to surface. We have to get to the surface. Everything is wrong. And then loses his memory of that. And then it's just like, everything's great. I'm super happy right now. I'm like, and then things are like giant squids are appearing. And then the sea then comes on board and it's like he's personalityless and like all these strange things are happening. People are getting really paranoid and scared. And I'm just like, around every corner, I'm just like, I don't know what's happening, but it's all cosmic horror-y. as eerie. Oh, eerie fairy tales. Your name's not eerie. Sorry. As you put it. Very cosmic horror. And I love cosmic horror. I love it so much.
I can't say I share the same sentiment, but I will say that it felt, I was almost about to text you and be like, did you give me another Annihilation to read? It was pretty much the same kind of energy as Annihilation. And I was like,
yeah, it was.
I've definitely seen this film before, and I
and
didn't like the ending.
About that.
I did. It was better than Annihilation, though.
Okay. Well, I'm
what
glad
do you think?
Putting
you on the spot.
I agree that it was very similar. Like it had the kind of sci-fi that I love, which I didn't even know going into it that it would be that. So I agree that it does have similar vibes to Annihilation. Annihilation was still better. Sanbun says, I'm still upset that they claimed that diverse groups work together, but then it was the diversity that frequently caused friction between the members. That felt like a choice. Was that something that you clocked?
It was something that I briefly, I didn't pinpoint it out in my brain the way Sanbun did, but yes, that I didn't know that was the intent though, because you have a woman, a black man, a white man, and there were times where briefly race was mentioned or the way she looked was mentioned, or like, so I couldn't tell if that was intentional or of the times. Like I didn't know if he was trying to be progressive in that way of showing something deeper, or if he was literally just,
I think he was trying, like what I got from it was he was trying to show the tensions that come from being a black man or a woman in a field dominated by people who are not like you, and you're just like othered or put down or put aside because of that. And there's tensions there, and there's also like insecurities there that I think were a point of friction for them, as well as a point of tension with the characters that didn't understand them. Like, I don't get your struggle.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
I don't know that it was executed as well as it could have been, but I don't think that, I don't know. It didn't come off as, I don't know. To me, I didn't clock it as being intentionally trying to say something about them being not like, the status quo.
I think you nailed that. I think that was a good explanation. That makes sense. Because I felt like, because he kept pointing things out, so I was like, you clearly are wanting us to acknowledge this to some degree.
Yes, so, the tension that's caused from them being
Yes, I think, like you said, I think it could have been done better, but I didn't take it like it was meant to be negative.
Yeah.
But I could see why somebody would think that.
Yeah, there were definitely lines, especially about Harry, like targeted about Harry. There were definitely lines that I was like, And
even Beth, like the way he was describing that she looked sometimes, I was like, okay, I'm sure there was a point to it. It didn't emphasize, why are we starting to get so graphic with her description? I don't know. But it did seem, again, like there was a reason. I just think he leaves a lot to be.
I think he wasn't skillful at it, but I think the intent was to point out like the struggles that they were going through.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with that.
This is one of my all-time favorite books, but I haven't read it in years.
Okay. All-time favorite book.
Honestly, it's probably a 5-star for me. Maybe a 4.5.
5 stars. I need 3 reasons why this would be a 5-star book for you, Murphy. 5 stars?
Okay. I love Crichton's writing choices of being a very slow build and like doing all the ground laying, and then just like sprinting. And I think that's what he did in this book, where it was like the slow build of, okay, this is why we're here. There's this mystery. You're not being told everything. And then once they started interacting with the sphere, it was just like cosmic horror. It was just like, it was crazy around every direction. You don't know where it's coming from or what it's doing or why it's here. So I love that.
Okay.
I love cosmic horror, so that's my second one. I loved all of the sci-fi horror elements where it's like thump thump or what was it? It was I don't remember the exact word that he used, like thud 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 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I'm here. Like, it's so good. Oh, it was so good. And then I loved the ending. Like, I was worried that the ending wouldn't land because it was really chaotic there at the end. And I was like, kind of having trouble following everybody's moves or motivations. But then when they did decide to do the memory erasure or to forget, and then it was clear that Beth remembered, and it kind of seemed like maybe Norman did too. I was like, oh, they retained it. It was just like such a nice little last little bit. So those are my 3 reasons why it was amazing. The whole book was amazing is basically what I'm saying.
The whole book was amazing. I would say like 30% was pretty good.
Okay, great. So, okay, hold on. Let me look at the poll. Oh, okay. So we have 81% sunshine and 19% grumpy.
Why did you set me up? You made it sound like it was going to be like I had a fighting chance. And it's not even, that's probably the worst that's been on my side ever. What kind of prediction was that?
Because both Slag and Sandbun were really mixed on it. And they were both just like, I don't know. Good parts, but really dumb. And like those were the 2 that I read it with. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, it's probably not gonna go so well.
Who vote? Well, I don't even want to know. I was going to say, who was a sunshine?
Oh,
Show
so
yourself.
Simon is also, which Simon, I think you must have read it like way early or something like that, because I didn't see your thoughts in the Discord as much, but he is Sunshine.
Sandbun, yay!
What was your initial reaction to them opening the spaceship and finding an English exit message?
Ooh. I'll be honest, I don't know if I had like a crazy reaction because at that point I was still just trying to vibe my way through it and see if I would even how intrigued I was by the little things we were totally getting because I was just kind of getting my footing with am I gonna like because it kept feeling like annihilation to me, just everything about it. So I was kind of like, okay, open-minded to things and like, okay, that's interesting. I'll make note of that. But I didn't have like any kind of strong reaction to it right away.
Yeah. I thought it was, I mean, they at that point they had already, when they saw the door, they already were like, and so when they saw the message in English, it was like kind of confirmation. So I don't know. I thought it was a cool twist, but I was still hoping for aliens. So I'm excited that we still did aliens.
Are you talking when we first went on the ship?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I wish I could tell you because like here's like I'm not gonna say that it was just the worst book ever. That goes to the hitchhike. I'm just kidding. But it was it was I couldn't connect with this book whatsoever. So I have such mixed feelings because there were things about it that I can recognize is that was interesting, but at the same time there's so much that happened but it also falls flat. So it is the weirdest experience that I've had. I felt like it was a little more like a little more molded than Annihilation, so it kept my attention better, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about this one for a minute.
So tell me, why does it fall flat?
I think a lot of the results, the plot twist or whatever we got reveals. I think it depended a lot on how the characters would have reacted or felt and I know they were like running around and accusing each other, but I didn't get this idea of how they were. I don't know how to explain. Like, I feel like the characters just didn't. They didn't the reveals and the plot and the characters just it wasn't meshed well together. I feel like I didn't know enough about them for the reveals to matter to me because they affect those characters, but I don't care about the characters.
Yep. I understand that because I don't think that the characters are good. Like, there's no one to truly root for. Everybody is very flawed. And because they're in these high tension situations, their insecurities or their conflicts are like the main thing of them that we see, which I understand. You mentioned that they felt kind of like one note, and I think that's valid.
Yeah, and the thing is, there were moments that were like I liked little things, like when they would eat the cake or something, and it was like those tense moments then when they're like deciding what's going to happen next as they were realizing the moments I really like were as they were realizing, oh, we're going to be here longer and longer. What do we do about it? But as the plot expanded and all this crazy stuff happened, there was nothing to pinpoint as to why I should be worried about these characters and everything that's
I think
happened.
that's fair. So, if you were to give it a star rating, what would you rate it?
Okay, I think I gave Annihilation a 2, maybe a 2.5.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, I don't care that you gave this 2.5, but it hurt to hear Annihilation got a 2 again.
What? Annihilation. Oh, that book was this one. I felt like it was the story, and I know Annihilation. This is a standalone, right? This book.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know Annihilation, there was more book to go, but I was like, I'm not putting myself through any more of that. This one felt like there was still a lot of holes, but I had a better understanding of what was going on. So I could bump it up. And I do think it was paced okay. There were times I was like, all right, all this jargon. Was the last 30% good? I'd have to read the second book, right?
Well, and the third.
Oh,
Solution is the fourth.
yeah, that would be. I don't know. I don't think this was the worst experience that I've had with one of your books, but
Someone said to your point about the characters, they didn't react to things normally. Like, no one cared to be worried about what might have happened to Harry after he left the spirit. That was weird. They just like nothing happened, no concern. No, that was really strange. I actually
yes,
and Ben.
yes.
They did when Harry went in the spirit, they were like expressed concern, but then they just went about their lives, and then they were just like, I wonder when he's coming out.
Yeah, that's kind of how they did with everything. It was like something would happen, and then I mean, I guess you could say that had to do with where they were at, but I'm like, no, like I feel like they would have something to say before they get knocked out again or get super happy or whatever it is. It was just like
They had a reaction when Lowry died, though. Like when they fished her out of the
I
water.
know, like which I get it, but I'm also like we barely even. I don't know, like
No, I actually wrote down in my notes that Tina died because I was so like I so didn't know Lowry that I got her confused.
No, when I kept seeing that, I was like, when did we meet this character? I don't, and now they're this big part of the. Okay, sure, why not? It was creepy for the person saying the scary things. I did not like hearing that. Was that the character where they said the body was mushy?
Yeah,
I didn't like
her
that.
whole
That was
body
creepy
got
to me.
crushed.
Yeah, I don't
They
like stuff
pulled
like
the
that.
boot off, and like her skin was discolored, and everything
Yeah,
was super mushy.
I
Yeah.
don't like hearing bodies are mushy. So that
No.
was creepy to me.
Yeah. Well, it was very disturbing to them too. They actually reacted to that one.
Not to Barnes. Barnes was like, okay, get back in here.
Well, Barnes is a little bit inhuman in the way he treats people.
And did Barnes actually die?
I think so.
I think didn't they just say they couldn't find him? Did they ever find a body?
Oh gosh. It was so chaotic. They might have. I don't remember them ever finding a body for him.
Yeah, I'm like, he could be plotting his revenge with the sphere down there, and that'll be the sequel. I don't know.
We're eating a newly discovered species. Just cook it up. They were a little bit non-reactionary, you're right. I
They
mean, I
were.
feel like they did react.
To what?
The species, like when Beth
Yeah, I mean,
realized that
I
they
think
were
that was
wrong.
the weird part, though. It was be like, wow, a thing. Okay. Like it was like, yeah, the thing. This is crazy. We should probably do more than just say the thing. Like
That's a valid criticism. Fine, so it's 4.5. All right, it's not a 5. It's a 4.5.
I can
Are
deal
we
with
are
that.
yeah, we could accept that? Okay.
Yeah. 81% though is crazy. Well,
Well, but Sandbun changed his to Grumpy, so like 80.
I see. Well, Sandbun, you are very much appreciated.
Simon did say 3.5 for his, so he is technically Sunshine, but just barely.
Have any of you read the Chat Murphy, any of his other books? Did you read Jurassic Park?
Yes, I love it.
Maybe I'll read that book. I don't know, but I've
It's
never read.
so
I
good.
obviously love the movies, but
I think
I've
the book's better.
really okay.
Yes, because the movie is so focused on action that the way the characters move doesn't always make sense. But in the book, every motivation is so well explained that it's like you understand why every character is making every decision they're making, and it's still full of action and death and like all the craziness.
Okay, I may do Jurassic Park.
Yes.
I may read Jurassic Park.
That'll redeem
Yes.
this author for you.
These comments are funny, but yeah, I wasn't completely turned off by the author. Like I would be open-minded to reading something else from him.
Okay. So Amber and Elise, wait, hold on. Yeah, that's fine. What is so chat, don't leave just yet because we have something for you too. So chat, so Amber and Elise, what is next month's book?
Next, and I should have it. It's over there, but it's tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. The sun will come out. So I am very excited to read this book. I have not read it. Murphy has not read it. And I picked it because it's been sitting on my shelf. And then I remember Murphy telling me that just wasn't a book she was interested in months back. And I was like, oh, perfect time. Perfect time to read it.
Yep. So I'm gonna read that, and it's gonna be a good time. I want to say this though. I want to say this has been on my shelf to read for like 2 years, and I kept putting it off. Yes. So I would not have read this were it not for our book club, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it so much.
The loving part's interesting, but I'm very happy that you finally tackled your book. That's good, Murphy. And same for me though. And tomorrow for a minute, not for 2 years, but I've had it on my shelf for a bit. So this is helping me open it up and read it. So that's exciting.
Good. The book club is doing its job. So last thing, chat, I'm going to put in the chat, and I'll pin a comment as well for anybody coming afterwards. So if you guys remember, every quarter,
Yes.
Amber Elise is picking a book, and I'm picking a book, and y'all are picking a book. So I have a form that I totally did not make while we were streaming because I didn't forget.
I love you, Murphy. You should have told me that. I know you had a lot to do. I would have done it.
No, it's okay. I literally was making it while we were talking. It's
You're the best.
I remembered while we were streaming. So that's a Google form. You can only submit one book, so make sure you think about it for a second and read the rules. I put rules in there as well. 400 pages or less. No graphic sexual assault or child abuse. And what was the other thing? Oh, yeah. And to the best of your knowledge, try to pick something that neither of us have read. So we will, when we do our tomorrow stream, we will pick a book from the forum to be our final book of the quarter.
I'm nervous.
I know, it's going to be crazy.
This is mainly a Murphy-centric chat, so.
Oh, that's true. We did put the form up.
But I will say, like a lot of them have been open-minded or like some of the books that I pick, so it's
definitely.
It'll be cool.
I'm shocked that you didn't just make Lynn do it for you. I'm going to submit the craziest thing I can find that fits the rules just to mess with you. Please do. I appreciate those rules. Thank you. And does Amber have a Goodreads or something so we know what she's read? What a question you just asked, Sambun. Yes, she did.
I have a deleting problem. I'll be better in 2025.
New Year's resolution, delete less.
The worst would be if we were talking and be like, Amber, did you delete?
The problem is you let me into too much of your life. You're like, hey, I had this idea. I started this thing and then I'm aware of it. And so when it just disappears, I'm like, Amber, did you delete this one?
Oh my gosh. Maybe I'll do something to notify what books I've read. But the thing is, we're saying I did have one. I don't need more, but maybe I'll make another one. Oh my gosh.
Oh no, my cheeks hurt.
Oh my gosh.
Well, on that note, I will, like I said, I'll pin a comment on the stream as well. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for chatting with us about Sphere, the greatest book that we've read all year long.
It was the greatest book that Murphy's read all year long.
I'll take that. How many books have you read this year?
I've read one.
Sphere?
No, The Sword of Kaigan. And let me tell you,
that's a really good book.
I'm just now getting over it. I cried for days.
That is an emotional roller coaster.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, that was I'm still processing my thoughts on that.
Okay, I will allow you to like that book better than Sphere. It is my favorite book of the year so far. Anyway, thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Bye, chat. You're the best.